church. So we have seen the church from every side, and this part is the oldest one. And then on the left and the right side, they are newer ones, and also on the other side, the tower was not in the first building period, but from the second building period. And again, you have at your right side the ancient hospital St. John. You can see it again. And I think it will be a good idea when this van has passed to cross the street, because the boat is on the other side of the street. So we will pass by, but don't stay in the middle of the road, please. Sometimes there are cars, there are bikes, and they want to be very fast, I see. Ding, ding, ding. And we are going now to the boat. So we cross again the small river, and you can see already at your right side where you will go to the boat. So I will go inside and ask if you can come yes, because we are just okay. Please follow me. 13, follow me. Follow me and come inside. Follow me and come inside. Sorry. It's inside. Is there only one brewery? Is there only one brewery? No. €4. When those men goes away, the women stays alone here, and then they enter in a beguinage. And the difference with the convent is that when a nun or a girl goes inside the convent, she becomes a nun for the rest of her life. But in the beguinage, you can come inside to live as a beguine, as we say, but you can leave it again when your husband comes again from this crusade. You can leave it again. When the husband dies in Jerusalem on the road, and you are very, very sure that he died, then you can leave also and marry again. But that was the reason the men who are going to Jerusalem, they let their wives here in the beguinage. They stay in the beguinage all together, a lot of women with their own church, no men allowed. Even the priest was not allowed to during the night, very well protected at that time, you know, it was important. And so they live here in the beguinage. So you can see the ancient houses, everything built in brick, everything in that same, nearly same red color. You see the difference between older and newer, but that's the beguinage. Children were until a certain age, yes, until a certain age, of course, yeah. That's true. So somebody asked if children were alone. Yes, they were alone until a certain age, of course. And then the boys would then go to the crusade. Yes, you have, yeah, of course. At your right side, you see a small house, and that's the house of the locker. There was in medieval times, there was a lock on this place. That was very important to stay that the level of the water inside the city was always the same. The level of the water no go up, no go down. So this lock was important, and the locker's house was built on it. And so they only was used to do it. And then now there's no lock. The lock is outside the city on this moment. But in the beginning of the 20th century, they made the restoration of this small house. And for instance, the little towers on both sides are built at that time. And we are speaking now of an artistic restoration. So that was to make an accent on that Gothic style. So that's really 14th century. Continuing. Okay? But others are not there. So if you see at the entrance of the chocolate shop, you see not what you do with the chocolate shop today. sell fish. And then at your right you have the fish market, but this fish market is only built in 1815. So in 1815 they want a real fish market. Now you can buy some fish over there, but mostly there are tourist articles. But in the middle of this fish market you see a water pond. In 1815 there was no streets, so you need a water pond, and you can see in the middle there was a water point, and that was important for that, and fish selling was important in this region. Here another pond, you can see. So let's go on the other side, and we are going to a place, and the name of the place is Bruges. Bruges, the name in French is Bourg and means something as village. And we are arriving now. I said you that Baldwin arrived in the 10th century, and he arrived and he goes to the dune along the river. And maybe you can see we are going up a little bit. The square is a little bit up than when we were near the river. And we will arrive at the place. Bruges is the name today, B-U-R-G. And when you say it in French, then it's Bourg. And in French, Bourg, that's a village. And there are a couple of names of towns in this region, and they end on Berg, and that means that an ancient village. And this was the place where the first Count of Flanders, Baldwin, arrived, and he made his fortress. This fortress doesn't exist anymore, but you see when you are on the square, and in front of you and right you see a new hotel built in the 70s, and underneath, when they built this hotel, they found rests of the fortress in woods. And one can go in the hotel and underneath, and you can see. But here we arrive on one of the most important squares of Bruges, and this square, Bruges, we have in front of us. You have to make and see at the other side. Then you have the town hall, built in the 14th century. So please come in the center of the square, and you see in front of you the town hall, built in the 14th century. Oh. Very important building. And what is very special is that the facade is in stone. So I explained already that at that time Bruges was a very important, rich city in the center of Europe. It was not so far away from the northern part of Europe, Scandinavian countries of today, Poland of today, and it was not that far away from France, Spain, and even Italy. So this was an important center, and an important center, an important city. It's a very nice city, and the facade of the city was very rich. And you can see a lot of statues, and all those statues are statues. For instance, above and in the middle you have 6 or 7 rows of statues. a lot of historical figures here. Then you have on the first floor, there is a very big room, and that's the Gothic room. And in the Gothic room, a ceiling, and that ceiling is painted originally from the 14th century. Other things are renewed, and then we go on that place and we go to the right side. At the right side you have two chapels. One chapel below, another chapel on the first floor. And especially that on the first floor is important because I told you already that men from this region goes to the Crusades, and one of them came back to Bruges and had a relic of the Holy Blood, and this Holy Blood is still over there in the chapel. So that Holy Blood was a couple of times inside, outside, but now it's over there, and it's also a Gothic chapel. The windows are not original, the original windows are in London in the Museum of Albert and Victoria. And then those are not original, they are in London. Then we go to the left side and you see a nice building painted in white and gold color. And this was the Palace of Justice, with the Lady of Justice on top, and you have Moses on the left side and David on the right side. So this was the Palace of Justice, and when you see above the door at your right side, you see again a lion, symbol of Flanders, but you also see a bear. Why a bear? In the medieval times there were bears here in this region, and the legend says that Baldwin came from Paris to here. He has to fight against a bear and protect his wife Judith against that bear. Of course he won, legends. And that's the reason that now in this thing you see the lion as a symbol of Flanders, the crown, and also the bear. At the left side you have a big building from later on. It was but the foundations of the church are still underneath. It's easy to get into the wrong group. I know, but there's another group. Yeah.
I saw 13 and I went, uh-oh, I made a detour.
Wrong group.
Yeah. But I saw 13 now.
Paying it per hour. Balik sa
So the joke is, of course, if you arrive with me, but one bump in the dark, and you have a fountain of beer. So you take the right, the next fountain of beer. out the road, and we are going in a small street, and as I explained it already, from the 12th to the 15th century, something like that. Again, take care for the cars. The one, he wants to park his car. Okay, stop. Okay. So, what was I saying? That in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th century, Bruges was a very, very important international commercial center. So, people, and I have to say men, from all those countries were coming to Bruges for commercial activities, to present their country, their towns and so on. And when they stay in Bruges, they go from time to time to public bathrooms where you can take a bath also with hot water. At that time there were no showers. So in those places, and in this little street, the name of the street is Stoofstraat. Straat is street. Stove is something to warming up water. So those men go to places where there was hot water, and the services offered to those men was more than warm water. And immediately at your right side, you will see some copies of miniatures, of medieval miniatures, where they explain or show you what kind of services were offered. And I think that everybody understands. Okay, we are passing by that street. And if you go by the street in front of you, you see the tower of the Our Lady Church. We will pass by in a moment, but here you have a very nice view on the tower of the Our Lady Church. Now, other things offered to tourists, shopping, restaurants, but at that time it was different. I suppose there were also restaurants and, I don't know, shops, yes, of course, but at that time it was different. So, here at your right side, you have a view on the services offered, and of course you can see the nice clothing of the Bruges women at that time. It was very simple. And we arrive in one of the most important touristic streets of Bruges. So you have enough time to do some shopping afterwards. But of course you can have already a look. Here nowadays they offer a lot of chocolate and a lot of other souvenirs. But in this street we have now a beautiful view on the tower of Our Lady Church, built in the 14th century. So it's 123 meters high. And only a part of the church is not in bricks, but the biggest part of the church is built in bricks. Inside, that's also very famous, because we have inside a very famous statue of the Virgin and her child, and this was made by Michelangelo, the famous Italian sculptor. Take care, and the bikes have to pass. Sometimes they are angry, but not everybody is angry. So this little statue was brought to Bruges, and the man who bought it from Michelangelo himself and brought it to Bruges. And it was given to the church as a present, and it's still there. It only has left a couple of times this church. The last time was during the Second World War, and the Nazis put all those things in the salt mine because it was in Austria, and after the liberation everything was put back to different countries. That was the last time that this little statue has left the church. And now you can visit the church and visit the little statue. You have to pay what's in the church. There is a museum part and there is a church part. Then, at your left side, we will cross again that river. The name of that river is Rijen. And you see at your left side, you see the ancient St. John's Hospital. The ancient St. John's Hospital was founded in the 12th century. Immediately on the water, you see a very big room where all the ill people were kept and cared. And then at the other side you have a big house with red windows, and that was the place where the nuns lived who were caring the ill people. This place has been an hospital until the 70s of the 20th century. I remember it as a hospital. And then Bruges built a new hospital outside the city. I think we will pass by afterwards when we are going back to the harbor. And this was a museum. The museum is now closed and will be restored, and it will open again in December. But here is one of the places, and here this was the ancient entrance of Bruges in the 12th century. So in front of us, our little church, and at the left side, the ancient hospital of St. John. But we will go to the right side and go to the right side before the big church. It's difficult, as I explained, to make in Gothic style, a real Gothic style in bricks, so it's rather sober. But inside is a real Gothic church with that statue, and also inside are the tombs of Marie de Burgundy, the lady who died very early and was the wife of Maximilian of Austria. So Maximilian was a very famous man for Bruges. He is the reason that we have all those swans. And she has her tomb, and her father also has his tomb inside in the museum part. And also the tomb of that Mr. Langneck is inside the church. So they are together in the church. And then the last house in this street at your right side was the house of the priest from the church. This house is from the 14th century, and that's a very, very typical house with a facade in real Gothic style. Real Flemish Gothic style with all those decorations here in bricks. And if you go, then you will see it also at the right side. You have always the church at your left side. At your right side you have the house of the priest, and in front you have the palace of Grutuze. The palace of Grutuze, and we will see it again, the facade, when we are coming back to the boat. But now we will cross the bridge and we are going inside the garden. The palace of Grutuze is also from the 14th and 15th century. But that's not the case with the houses at the other side of the water. You see a lot of houses and you can think that these houses are real old, but that's not true. They are also from the beginning of the 20th century. Afterwards, we will be...
They dig this out without any tools, just to show a long time. It's not that deep.
On the tower of the church, and also on the palace of Grutuze. So that's everything is medieval. The church built 13th, 14th century. The palace of Grutuze, 14th century. The church. But I hope my colleague, number 18, will leave this place and we let her go first, so you can have a nice view on the church. Look, they are, you see somebody climbing on the tower? You see? Yes, heard about it yesterday. Those are exercises for climbing. Girls and boys who are visiting Bruges.
Okay, but they're here from Belgium, right? Or
I suppose yes. Van waar zijn jullie? Van waar zijn jullie? About 50, 60 kilometers
away from here.
Bruges.
Oh,
so
okay.
they were really visiting Bruges.
Oh.
So you have here at your left side, you have again the river. The name of the river is the Reije, and a lot of houses at the other side. Also, all those houses are original medieval houses. And this place was one of the first places, and we know now that it was one of the first places where people by bus. This is the place most people by foot, and especially by night, because all the road at the right side, the other place, maybe it's also an inspection of the walls of the tower, that everything is out all right. You cannot see, you can see the cable. And they were inspecting and making exercises. It was yesterday in Bruges. It was yesterday on the other tower, and I suppose today it's on the Our Lady tower. So most of the church is in bricks, and it seems this tower so high in bricks, that is the highest tower in Europe in bricks. And there are higher towers. But this is the highest one in bricks. Take care for the bikes, and then we will go to the right side. For instance, when you were a planner, you were making leather, and then you have to sell that leather. But the guild, the corporation, was controlling the production of the leather and the quality of the leather. So there were agreements about the price and the quality. So you cannot sell a certain leather with a certain quality for a price what you want. You have to follow the rules of your corporation. On the other hand, they control also the education of the new professionals. So boys, the education was only for boys. Girls has to stay in their family and to learn things in the family. But the boys were learning their profession in a guild, in a corporation. And also the way you will have that education was very good regulated. So they control also, it was also you were a companion, and then you were a master. And when you are a master and passed several tests, you can be an independent professional. Before, you cannot have your independent company, we will say today, that was not allowed. So, the medieval times, sometimes we think of a certain kind of chaos. No, it was well regulated. And in Bruges at that time, there were about 50 different corporations, professional corporations or guilds. And every guild has its own house and so on. So here you see the guild, the house of the guild of the tanners, and all those things are. But you see above the door, you see a cow. So the cow was, of course, the material for the tanners. And then you see above the windows, from left to right, and you go left above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see the production of leather. So this was leather where you come of the cows. Another corporation was starting with goats. So there were different corporations of tanners, and this was the yes, the cows were they were the beginning of all. Now all those things are touristic, restaurants, hotels, and so on and so on. The house in front of us is now a chocolate shop, but if you see the entrance, above the door there are two fishes. So this was the guild, the house of the guild of those who were selling fishes. So that was another guild, and they were together here because the smell of fish, the smell of making leather was not that pleasant. So they were together, everything, they were together. Hotel and going inside, and so the foundations of the church are now the room for festivities for the hotel. When they built the hotel, they have seen everything and they made one thing, and that's very, very good thing. This was a big church, and a big church at that time, there were a lot of priests working there, and so you see in front of you and to the left side a big building in Rococo style. This building is from the 17th century, and all those priests who are working over there were living in that house. The house above the restaurant Tom Pouce is not original, it's from the 20th century, and as I explained before, a lot of houses and buildings were built in a neo-Gothic style. That's a typical neo-Gothic style. Like it?
Oh yeah, very much, very much.
Okay.
Because Bruges is it's an exception. Most cities have one big important place, a kind of marketplace, but normally in cities here in Europe you have an important place, and you have the town hall, and you have commercial activities, and everything on the same place. In Bruges it's different, we are different. We have two squares, two places. One is this, the Burg, with the town hall and the Palace of Justice, and in ancient times a church. And then we are going to a second square, and this square, the name is Marketplace, and on this square were the commercial activities. So all kinds of commercial activities were concentrated on the marketplace, and the governmental activities or the religious were on the square Burg. So that is a little bit exceptional. That was very important at that time. So we will arrive at the place, the marketplace, the name explains itself, for the commercial activities, and of course one of the buildings important over there is the Tower of the Belfry.
Sabihin mo lang, akala ko libre ito.
The Tower of the Belfry and the marketplace. I'm going, so we do the right side and in the center of the marketplace, so you can come with me all together, and we will have a look to all the four parts of the marketplace, but it will be the most interesting place to have a nice view on the square. So I'm going to the right side, I will cross the street, and I'm going to the center of the marketplace, so we have a nice view on the whole marketplace.
Das ist er nicht. Sieht so aus, ne, als wäre es eine Post Symbol.
Now going to the center of the place, and follow me. Please follow me. I will have look for the place which will be alright. Okay. And the first thing I will explain is the belfry itself. So please come on the center of the marketplace and have a look to the belfry.
So we saw the tower from before. Now we have a nice view on the whole building.
Hoy, hinahanap din kita. Hinahanap namin kayo kami. Nakakain kami.
This tower,
11150.
only the upper part of the tower is not built in bricks, in stone. So indicates
11150. 150. Kayo ba ano? 5121.
there were a lot of fires.
Ay, ala tayo dito.
The carillon and the bells are on top of it.
Asa na si Mr. Halika rito.
Because in the medieval times there were important rules to this place, and then they go.
Lâu là bị rồi.
Over there before we can go on the boat. But maybe some people are going there. I will wait a little moment to.
I'll sit down.
You can sit down, of course, but I think it will be better to wait a moment. Otherwise, we will lose some people, and that's not a good idea.
Look at this church here.
we are going to the market square so that I can tell you.
We go check.
Check, yes. So we are going to the market square in Bruges, and you will see that it is still a commercial center, has always been a commercial center. There are restaurants there. It's not the cheapest place to do something. There are cheaper places than the market. Of course, you have this. You see this tower.
Also go to the restaurant and Bruges. I hope they are coming. I have now but in between you see at your left side a kind of a porch, and this porch is honoring the victims of the two wars here in Belgium in the 20th century.
Cattle.
And inside that street there is a big wall, and all the names of the victims are on those walls. The victims, soldiers, but also the civil victims. And especially in the harbor, there is a village near the harbor where we come from today. And in Bruges itself, there was not a lot of damage by those wars, but there was a lot of damage, of course, in the harbor. So the harbor was built in the beginning of the 20th century. It was inaugurated in 1907. Then came the war, demolished, rebuilt in the 20s, 30s. Then again, 1945, occupation by the Nazis, demolished again the harbor, and then rebuilt afterwards. On the village of Sydney with a lot of victims of the civil so but in Bruges itself, the city of Bruges, there was never real damage, so that's a good thing, but it was on the heart. Then at your left side you see a big building of this is also a nice building of the 16th century, the years 15 and so on. And on the facade you can see, I don't know if you know him, but this was in England a very important man, Thomas More. And Thomas More, he was working for Henry VI, the very well-known Henry VI. And he was murdered by him too. And he was an important man because he was working for the guild, the corporation of the wool sellers of England and Scotland. So he was several times here in Bruges, and he was in the Van Watervliet, and there he has to discuss things about how many wool, prices of wool, and so on and so on. So he went many times to Bruges, and that's the reason you have now where he was being at that time. And now we are going back to the place where you're coming from, but we will now enter in the, not the garden, but the entrance of the Palace of Bruges. We saw it already from the other side when we are passing by the Church of Our Lady, but the facade and the palace is worth to see it, and then you can, and then we continue, and we will be at time at the boats. That will be all right. And on the left side you have also an institute for adults, forming adults. And for instance, to be a guide here in Bruges, you have to study, of course, you have to study. And nowadays this school is here at my left side. So to to becoming a guide here in Bruges, you have to go during 3 years, one evening in every week, from 6:30 to 10 p.m. to the classes and pass some exams, and then you are a guide. And if you want to be a guide in another language than Dutch, you have to pass another exam. So we are going to cross the street here. Take care, yes, we are going, and we will see the facade of the Bruges Palace. And the family of Bruges was a very important family in the time of the Dukes of Burgundy. The time of the Dukes of Burgundy was a very good period for Bruges and for Flanders, because the reason was in fact that Britain and France were in war, so all the rich things came here. And we are now in front of the palace of Bruges. Why this family was that important, why this family was that rich? Well, the reason was they were working for the Dukes of Burgundy, and now when one is working, for instance, for a king, for a country, they are paid in money. But at that time, they were not paid in money, but they received from the Duke of Burgundy the right to receive a tax every time when they were selling or buying meat. What is meat? Meat that's now hop. So when the production of beer needs now a hop. Hop is important for the taste of the beer and for the conservation of the beer. But in that time, that was fruit, kind of mix of herbs. And so this family had to try everything for flowers, everything for the and since beer was that important, that's the result. They had built in the 14th century such and actually in the 15th century. Dukes of Burgundy is 15th century, 1400 and so on. You see the most important boy of the family on his horse over there. That's Louis de Bruges, and this was his palace. A tower, a staircase in the tower, and access from the staircase to all those parts of the palace. Now it's in a museum. In about 1900, there was a big restoration. It was by the city of Bruges to have a museum, and some things were new at that time. For instance, the Belvedere at the tower, so the place where you see now the flag that is new from the beginning of the 20th century. Then it was again restorated. It was opened in 2019, just before the COVID crisis. And now it's again a museum of the history of the city of the region, but not the history of dukes or counts or whatever, for the normal people of Bruges. So you see all aspects of the normal life inside. But it's a beautiful building, and it's beautiful inside too, and it's very rich with chimneys, decorations on the chimneys. It's a very nice building. If you want to visit the church with the statue of Michelangelo, you have to buy afterwards your tickets here in this area. You will see this is not far away. Please don't go to the restroom here. In a couple of minutes we are on the road. And there is also, no, please don't go here. We are going to the boats and over there.